Long ago, a ring was forged not for power, but for peace. Hidden beneath the hill town of Burrowdeep, it was lost in a mine collapse. Generations later, a young Hobbit historian named Elba uncovers an ancient scroll that reveals its location. With the help of a band of misfit hobbits, she braves the dangers of the underground to recover it. But goblins who feed on light now rule the tunnels, and getting out alive is no easy feat. Hey, everyone! I'm here to introduce you to our first ever Hobbit adventure. Alright, let's get started. Deep in the tunnels beneath the Shire, something stirs. It's hard to say what exactly it is. But there's movement down there, and in time, we will see. Our story begins in the cozy Hobbit hole. Elba Underhill is going through some old books. She's a historian, you know, so she likes to look through all the old scrolls and books and stuff. There's this one scroll in particular that she's looking at. It's really, really old. It's kind of falling apart. But there's some really interesting lore written on here about the history of the Shire. Specifically, it talks about the last ring of power made in the Second Age, the last ring of power forged by the elves. And this ring wasn't for power or domination or anything like that. This ring was actually for peace. It was an elven ring of peace. Now, the thing is, it was lost a long time ago. It fell into the depths of the earth during a mining accident. A whole bunch of tunnels collapsed and it was never recovered. But Elva believes that it might still be down there somewhere. And her uncle Theron thinks he knows just the place. Now, Theron is the grumpiest hobbit you're ever likely to meet. He's old and he's got a gnarly beard, and he walks around with a stick. Looks like he's just ready to whack people over the head with it. But he's actually a really wise old hobbit. And he knows a lot about the history of the Shire, because he's old. So, he says, well, come on then. Let's go find your silly ring. And he grabs his stick, and he heads off down the tunnel. Following him are two more members of Elba's adventuring party. There's Pip Wobblefoot, who's always hungry, and he's got a little pouch belt with food on it. And then there's Nemo Lightstep, who's very good at sneaking around in the shadows. As they make their way through these dark and dank tunnels, they encounter all sorts of nasty things, like giant spiders and venomous snakes and bats. Just nasty stuff down here, and Elba's got to use all her wits and courage to keep them safe. You know, I wanted to make a story about hobbits going on an adventure, you know, kind of like The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. But from the perspective of someone who's not Bilbo Baggins or Frodo Baggins. You know, we don't usually see hobbits in these stories except as sort of comic relief. But what if they were the heroes of the story? That's what I wanted to explore with this first Hobbit adventure. Along their journey, Alba and her friends learn all sorts of interesting lore about the history of the Shire and the Second Age. They learn about the elves and the dwarves and the men who lived in Middle-earth long ago. They also learn about the One Ring and Sauron and the Dark Lord's plans to dominate all of Middle-earth. But despite all the danger and darkness that surrounds them, Elba and her friends never lose hope. They know that the fate of Middle-earth may rest on their shoulders, but they're not afraid to face whatever challenges come their way. What I like about this story is that it shows that even the smallest and most unlikely heroes can rise to the occasion and save the day. You don't have to be a great warrior or a powerful wizard to be a hero. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of courage, a lot of heart, and a few good friends. And that's what Elba and her friends discover on their journey to find the lost ring. They don't have any fancy magic powers or weapons, but they do have each other and they have the courage to face whatever dangers lie ahead. Thank you for watching and joining us for our first ever Hobbit adventure. I hope you enjoyed this story of courage, friendship, and the power of hope. If you did, be sure to follow for more adventures in Middle-earth and beyond. Until next time, may your adventures be thrilling, your friends be true, and your foes be vanquished with a well-placed shoe. Thank you.